Awesome. Hope you all had a great summer break. Some of us are still on it. Some of us are still on it and presenting today anyway. Thank you, Ovais. But we took a little break in June following InfoComm. Very busy month, very lot going on, crazy month. So we took a little break there, and we're jumping back in with brand new, finally GA released Jabra Plus for admins. It's out there now, and we're talking about that today. And so while I'll be hosting and hanging out and throwing some questions in there, Ovais will be walking us through the actual platform, Jabra Plus for admins, as released to the public, not in beta, not pre-release. It is there. So he's going to walk us through what that is now, and then we're going to kind of get to as well what is coming up in phase 2 of that. What that means for all of you, though, is today will be a very non-slide heavy day. We are not going to be going through many slides at all, except these little intro slides that I'm doing here. Outside of that, it's going to be hands-on, walking through, fielding questions, etc. So go ahead and bring those questions as they pop up. With that, our housekeeping items. If you have been to one of these before, then just bear with us through these. But if you haven't, here's kind of how we run these things. First off, this is a Teams webinar, but we call it an unwebinar, specifically because, yes, we're bringing information and you're learning something and you have the ability to ask some questions, but we really want this to be more informal. We want it to be less of us just talking at you and more of a back and forth, more of us getting to know each other. You get a chance to know the technical folks behind the solutions at Jabra, and we get a chance to know you, to get your feedback, to kind of get questions from you, to know what your thoughts are on specific topics. So it's a lot of back and forth. With that, we like to have a few little rules out there, but not much at all. It's not a rule, but we highly encourage you to turn on your camera if you're comfortable. We try to keep ours on just so you can kind of, again, get that feel of what it's like to hang out, to talk with us, etc. So if you're comfortable, please feel free to flip that camera on. It'll make it more of a back and forth. No pressure if you don't want to. On the audio side, we have everyone muted, but if a question pops up, just throw up your hand in Teams and we will unmute you. You can ask your question live. That doesn't mean you can't throw the question in the chat or the Q&A app as well. We'll be keeping an eye on both places and answering questions there. But we do encourage actual real back and forths via audio. So if you want to ask a question, throw that hand up and we will answer it. And you do not have to hold them till the end. We will have a Q&A section at the end, but if you have a question mid-presentation, please feel free to interrupt us. We really like the back and forth. Last but not least, we do giveaways at each one of these things. And today we'll be doing an Evolve 275 plus a Panicast 20. That is a dream team of personal devices there. Now, the raffle will happen after the event. What we do is we use the attendance report that is being generated now, but it is given to us after the event. We use that attendance report to randomly select one of the attendees of the event. It doesn't go off registration. And so once we pick that person, you will get, if you're that lucky winner, you will get an email notifying you that you won, and we'll get, shipping information at that point. But it will be the email that you registered with. So keep an eye on that. That's where we will reach out to you and say, hey, you won. Where can we ship this stuff to? Thank you for being here. You are automatically entered to win just by being here. So those are the 2 devices going out today. Again, the name of today's session, Jabra Plus for Admins, is here. If you were present back in, what was that, January or February? I think maybe it was January, that we did the kind of a preview, a look ahead to the Jabra Plus for Admins platform, what it meant, what the long-term vision was there. John Hand presented that one alongside Ovais and gave us a preview into what that was going to be. And we've kind of showcased it a bit more at events between then and now, but it is now here, fully GA. And so right now, as it has arrived, we have room management capabilities that we're going to be walked through today. And the next step in that journey is personal devices. And Ovais will get us a little deeper into what that's going to look like. For those of us that are IT admins or going to be advising IT admins on how this is going to look in their environment, we'll talk a bit about that and give you a chance to ask about it. And before I jump over to the demo, really, it's rather than a presentation, it is a longer demo. Wrong slide there. I'm going to go to this one here. Make sure you bookmark the jabra.com/technically speaking page. So use that QR code to get over there, bookmark that landing page. That is where you will find our next sessions. That is where you will find recordings of our previous sessions if you want to get caught up. The next session coming up in August is going to be on MDEP, the Android OS for room systems and beyond, built by Microsoft, and we're one of the first partners to bring that to life on our devices with them. Michael Tressler will be presenting on that next month. That is going to be, I think, a popular topic. There's a lot of interest starting to bubble up out in the wider industry community. So make sure you head out there, get registered for that one. Stay tuned. September's session will be up there very soon. And that's just a very handy bookmark to have to know what we're talking about next over the next few months. With that, it is demo time. So I'm going to ask that Ovais take over presenting at this stage and jump right into walking us through what this experience is like and how you and your customers will get started with it. Ovais, thank you again for being here during your holiday break. Please take us away.
Thank you very much. You guys can hear me fine, right?
We can. I hear you loud and clear, and it looks like your presentation is coming through right now. Yep.
Perfect. So just wanted to show you guys, I mean, as Josh mentioned, we just released Jabra Plus for admins, specifically for meeting room devices. Now, the first thing that you might be wondering, how do you get there? So, I mean, there's a very simple URL. You can just pop in cloud.jabra.com, and it will take you to this particular screen that you were just seeing. I mean, if you see here, this URL changes a little bit. This is because this is our single sign-on system. So we will see me adding my email address. And I'll just add jabra.com over here, my email address, and it will directly log me in. It will not ask me to log in or giving a username and password, because I am my organization, Jabra is actually single sign SSO compliant or SSO registered with the Jabra Plus. At the same time, it's not necessary for you to use Jabra, single sign-on. You can always create registered as a Jabra account and then use username and password as you traditionally have been to actually go and start using the system. And anybody can actually register and start using the system if you have Jabra devices, of course. So when you land, this is our landing page, and you can right away, you can see that you're able to see the general status of your meeting rooms across the world. You can actually see that 68% of our devices or our rooms are connected, and which actually gives a bit more detail about 15 rooms are connected, 7 rooms are disconnected. It's a vacation time. People are most probably trying to save the electricity. But yeah, that's where you are. So you can, every morning, I would expect that IT admins can actually have a look at this page, and they can actually already know, maybe right now we're interested in the connected rooms, but IT admins, I would imagine, would be interested in the disconnected rooms, because this is where they might want to send somebody over or open them up and see what's actually is going on there. So once you have this screen, and I'm just going to, you can click over here and you directly go to the rooms that are connected or disconnected, already filtered. But the other way of doing that would be that you can actually go to meeting rooms. One thing I wanted to point out was that if you come from Jabra Express, you kind of know that it was a system that was built for everything. What we have discovered during our research is that the use cases that are required for meeting room management by the IT administrators and the IT administrators themselves are different people. So they need different functionalities for personal devices versus meeting room devices. This is why we have clearly separated the two sections, one for personal device management and one for meeting room management. You can see on the left You can see the personal device management, which is in beta right now, as Josh was mentioning, and I'll go through there as well. So first of all, when you are using meeting room management, and you would be able to see a list of all the rooms that are actually in your organization. And you can already see that and this information about the room status, which actually has different devices connected to it or disconnected it, we can actually almost bring that information in near real time. So we actually can see what are the different devices that are connected to the system and whatnot. Important thing that we want to move away from the concept of devices. What we talk about is rooms. So we can have more than one device in the room. That means that we will be actually talking in terms of rooms, not in terms of devices, but you will drill down to a device if you want to. So if you see here, this is what we call our room inventory page, where you actually can see all the different devices that you, or rooms rather. Over here, you can actually see the information about those particular rooms at a bit more about firmware status, configurations. I'll go to what configurations are a little bit later, and what main devices are in that particular room. You have ability, as we just saw. You can actually filter that in real time, so you can actually say what rooms are connected, disconnected. And you can actually filter them out. You can filter them based on locations. You can actually go different configurations that you can see, and then based on the firmware status, you can also filter them. One thing that we have brought is that we know that Jabra Plus or Jabra devices are used across the board in different offices, different settings, different locations. So what we actually are bringing is that the ability to actually divide or subcategorize your meeting rooms into different locations. You call them locations. You could be different countries, cities, buildings, for example, and so on and so forth. So you can actually divide your all the different rooms that you have according to the structure that you guys are following in terms of support, for example. Over here, you can see that we have Bellevue, that is my office actually in Denmark, and then we actually have divided that into, we have multiple buildings. We have a V building and an A building. This is how we have created. Nobody in London or Paris office has just joined in, but it's a matter of time. And then we have a lot of participation from our US office, which actually, these are all the different locations actually across US from where some of our colleagues are actually built these rooms in their home offices and so on and so forth. And you can obviously click one of them, and then you can actually go and you can focus on that particular location. Yeah, you can always go ahead and add a location. It means that you can actually just simply add a new location, which would be Poland, for example. Oh, not here, but I think Poland most probably should be done here. Okay, now you have created Poland, and then for some reason, I don't know why, but somebody actually just moved from US to Poland. Then you can always take that room, and if you drag and drop it here, you can also select multiple rooms, and you can actually move location to, very weird.
So we can actually drag and drop the rooms between locations.
Absolutely, yes.
That's handy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ovais, when you were adding a new location too, I might be jumping ahead here. I'm just wanted to throw the question as I saw it, but you had you clicked in the drop down to add a location, and there was an option there to apply or to schedule firmware updates. So does that mean you're able to schedule the firmware update per all the devices under that level of location?
So that's a great question. I think the thing that we are actually trying to provide is right now you can give one scheduled firmware update location for the whole organization. But what we do is that we intelligently know what time zone that particular location is in, or we just check it from the devices, and that means that if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, for example, then it's 6 o'clock in Denmark versus 6 o'clock in US. So we will basically intelligently firmware update when according to the location and according to the time zone that is there. Right now, this is basically what we do, but we are kind of looking into giving a bit more fine granular control, where you will be able to set up different what we call a maintenance window, if you may, for different locations. Right now, it's for the whole organization, and then that window is then determined based on your time zone.
Okay, awesome. And we do have a question in the Q&A app over here from George. And he's asking if Jabra Plus meeting rooms is compatible with Mac OS, as some end users sometimes have both systems, right? PC and Mac.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think right now what we are releasing, or what you see right now, what is generally available is support for meeting room management, which I mean, the only case that we don't have with Mac is actually if somebody has a Zoom room device on Mac. But long story short, we don't have Mac support right now, but that's definitely on the roadmap. And this will become much more prevalent as we actually go and release the personal devices, device management, right? And this is where we will actually hopefully, but the first we'll release the Windows support, but gradually we'll release support for other operating systems as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I imagine Mac OS will come into play a lot more when it comes to personal devices as well. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. And as I said, I mean, we really want to take the biggest segment, right, to actually first release support for based on our data that comes from Jabra Direct and Jabra Express. We can see that more than 95% of our users are using Windows. So that's kind of where we are starting from.
Right.
Okay. So you can actually see here, and you can actually select multiple rooms, and there is something going on in the system that is just... Anyways, so we'll move on, and then first of all, what you see here is that there are different types of devices. Somebody just basically created different locations, but that can give us a clue what these devices are. So the devices that we are supporting are Panakas 50 if it's attached to a room system, which is your MTRs, your Zoom rooms, and if it's also if you are actually connecting Panakas 50 as a bring your own device. Which means that, and Josh, that this is a really unique feature in Panakas 50 that for management, you can directly connect a standalone Panakas 50 using Ethernet or Wi-Fi, and it will start communicating to Jabra Plus, which actually we have a separate application, which is Jabra Plus for installers that you can actually download on your own machine. And then from that point onwards, you can actually connect to a Panakas 50 and configure basically what the process that we call provisioning, and it will start showing up on this particular screen. And that's kind of it. Once you have done that, it's actually, and you can see over here, this particular bring your own device, it has no computer attached to it. It's actually directly communicating with Jabra Plus. We can see the status of it. It's online right now. I can click, I can see further detail about that. We get a bit more information about the room itself. We can actually get a real-time activity log, which basically can actually tell you when the devices were online, offline, somebody changed the settings, somebody somebody restarted the system, and so on and so forth. So anything that happened. So I think that it's an age-long question on who screwed up my device, right? And this is basically where you get it, right? What people have been doing to your device could be really important for you to know. So that's basically where we are with that one, right? So you can actually get all the details, different changes that have happened, and the firmware when the firmware is updated, and so on and so forth. Even as I said, I mentioned that since even if this device is a bring your own device, which means that it's not connected to a dedicated computer, we can still actually go on and update the firmware on that one without even this being connected to any particular device using the Ethernet or the Wi-Fi interface that we mentioned. Yeah. Now, what we have done is that we have seen the rooms in the whole organization. From there, we have sort of went down to the level of a location. From a location, we can actually focus on a particular room. And the next thing we might want to do is actually go to a particular device and see what exactly we can do here. One thing that you can actually over here do here is you can remotely reboot the device. So you don't need to go into the room and do that and plug out the cable and put it in again or something. You can simply reboot this. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm pretty sure this is Rob's Panacast 50 and he won't like it. Anyways, but that's basically, but the drill down thing does not end there. So you can actually open up a particular device as well. Now here you will find more information about that device. You can see the firmware version. What are the different version policies? I'll go a bit more into detail. What exactly is an electronic serial number, and all the different information that you might want to know, and the IP address and so on and so forth. You can also do is you can go ahead and you can go and start interacting with the device in terms of changing the settings. As you know, Josh, our devices are really intelligent devices. They have a lot of settings. They might be relevant in some situations, and some settings might be relevant in other situations. So you can actually go open up a device and then start changing the settings in real time. As you change the settings, publish them, they will be actually blown into on the particular device that we're talking about.
And so we're talking about like video modes and settings like that. We can change that from here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great question. So look at that. So it's actually, we have the general setting. You can enable Bluetooth from here as well, and then you can actually go ahead and go.
There we go.
Actually show camera modes, image sharpness, white balance, automatic, anything that you can do from using Jabra Direct. You can actually do it remotely from here. Just change the settings, click a button, and boom, you are actually already good to go.
Now, what does that mean where it says locked by configuration right there over on the right-hand side?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. So that's another feature, and I'll actually touch that, actually. This is really good that you noticed that, Josh. I am going to actually tell you that exactly how this particular thing came about, but in a while, because this is another feature that we actually bring. But if the configurations are not, so these settings are not locked, you can actually go ahead and change them. But some of the settings are locked, which you can't, but we'll see how to lock them. Yeah, but the main purpose over here is that you might want to standardize some of the settings that you have in your rooms, right? So which you don't want every administrator to change, right? So that's kind of like the concept. So there are settings which are something that you keep them open, and any administrator can change them, and then there are some settings that you lock, and we'll go into detail exactly how this can happen. But nonetheless, when you actually change the settings over here, you can do whatever, and then you can publish the settings from here, and then these will be pushed to the device in near real time. So that's kind of where we are with that one, right? Now you can actually see that, even in this demo tenant, we have like more than 30 device rooms actually. So I would imagine that you most probably do not want to do or change settings one by one. So you most only want to, do a batch update to these settings. And this is where what the concept of configurations come in. Configurations are kind of like templates that you can actually do the settings in, and then you can apply them to multiple rooms, so that when you change one setting at one location, they could be applied to 1 or 100 rooms at the same time. So this is where let's open what we call room configurations. These room configurations are over here. You can see, so if I just want to open one of them, let's just see, we can actually first of all, when we are doing a configuration, you can actually always tell Jabra Plus, do you want Jabra Plus to change or manage the firmware of the devices, right? And you know that in the room systems, for example, in MTRs, we actually provide a Jabra Plus Windows update based firmware updater, which actually is also responsible for changing or upgrading your rooms or your devices. So you can actually, if you are using BYOD, or if you're not using Windows Update, then you can let Jabra Plus manage the firmware. If you are using Windows Update, then you can actually disable that from here. And in that case, Jabra Plus will not try to install the firmware on that particular device or the devices that are connected to the configuration. And then we have another setting which we basically say, hey, always keep devices updated, which means that you have two options. One option is that you can select a specific version and lock your devices to that particular version, or you can just click this button and say, hey, always keep devices updated, which means as Jabra releases a new firmware of a particular device, we will just start updating your device. And don't be alarmed, that will not happen during a meeting or something. That will happen inside your maintenance window. But it's just that I think it's a cool use case if you are running a bunch of devices which are in your IT rooms, for example, some things that you are using for testing. That's a great setting to have for that, because then you can actually keep them updated, get them tested, and then you can use specific versions that you have tested and roll them out to a larger audience or a larger number of rooms. So that's kind of where we are with that. So these are like the big configuration things. Once you are there, then you can actually, in this template, now we have just done a high-level configuration on this particular, then we can actually start adding different devices for which we want to manage the settings in this particular template. Let's just open Penacast 50. And this is now what we have done is that we have added Penacast 50, and this is where you can actually set the firmware that is actually will be applicable to that. And as I mentioned, you can actually use the parent configuration, which is always use the latest firmware, or you can actually go ahead and just use the firmwares that are available, the firmwares that you have tested and are confident that these are the ones that you actually want to roll out to the rest of the organization. Just keep on this here. And then once you have done that, then actually the next thing is the settings. These are the same settings you just saw on an individual devices. But now you can actually see that these devices, these settings are available once you have done these settings once and attached them to the rooms. And every time you change something here, they will be actually applied to all the 100 or 200 rooms that are connected to that. And Josh, now I will answer the question that you just asked. You remember there was a lock on the configuration screen,
yeah.
And this is where you do that, right? This is actually, so you can actually say, hey, I don't want these to be locked. So anybody who opens a particular room, they can actually try to change the settings. But if you lock them, that means that these settings are now only their settings are only configurable in this whole configuration, which means that it gives a great tool to standardize some of the settings. If there are 4 or 5 settings which are standard for all your rooms or all your devices, you can actually create them or set the values over here and then lock them so that every administrator who is actually opening a specific room is not able to change that. So
this means the templates can be either a kind of a recommended guide that starts you off on the right path, or they can be an enforceable template that you
exactly.
Okay. Nice. All right.
So, and this is, by the way, this is the same configuration. You can see that these are the ones that were locked. These are the ones that were not locked, and they were available in the individual devices to be changed.
That's right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, we see here at the firmware update up top, you can always use the latest, or you can choose a specific one. What if you've always used latest and you decided you wanted to roll back a version or two? Can you do that here? Can you set it back and then have that group of devices actually in the next update window roll back to a version that you want it to be on?
Absolutely. So you can actually see we have all the different firmwares available. So you can actually just, if you have always latest on and it has never happened that Jabra releases a firmware which has problems, but sometimes it might happen, in that particular case, you can always roll back to a previous version. But yeah, so yeah, that's something that you can actually do. But once you have created these these configurations, if you go back to the inventory, you'll be able to see the devices. You can there's something wrong in this system, but anyways, but you can actually, I mean, ideally, you can actually select multiple devices. I have to report this problem, but nonetheless, you can basically go to a room.
There's a feedback tab right there. You can just let them know right now what you think there. So.
Absolutely. And then you can actually go ahead and you can actually select the configuration. So this actually has the same configuration that we set. So you can actually attach that configuration that we just did, that template that we did, where we set up the firmware information, we set up the settings. Once we apply that and attach it to this particular room and multiple rooms, then from that point onwards, you will be just changing the configuration itself, and then it will be applied to all the different devices that are connected to that. So yeah, that's yeah, and this is just while we are here. I also wanted to actually show you this. You can actually get more information about how to add different rooms. There's a guide that we can provide you. This Penacast 50 VBS is something that we are releasing a new firmware for Penacast 50 VBS, and then that particular after that is released, then you will be able to actually provision Penacast 50 VBS to Jabra Plus as well, using the web console or the touch screen. It is still available. I mean, for the more adventurous people, I mean, there is a secret way of getting that. But if you need to test that, please let us know and we'll guide you through.
That's a good call out, though, right? Because it's at the moment, right? As you think about, okay, what can I manage in here at launch right now? It's Penacast 50, either as a room or as BYOD. And imminently, with this update coming to the VBS, our Android bar, that will be included with this next update once that comes out. And then again, that is imminently. For those that haven't been tracking that brings things like multi-stream capabilities to support Zoom Smart Gallery and a couple other cool little things. So that is coming to the VBS soon. With that will be manageability support within Jabra Plus. So we'll have both those room bars manageable within here. And I wanted to ask about that, so I'm glad you called that out. If you're like, okay, well, how do I actually kick off that provisioning process? You get a little walkthrough up there with the how to add a rooms in the provisioning process for it.
Absolutely. So you can actually do that. And just before we go to the provisioning part of it, I just wanted to actually mention this. We have been talking about this the maintenance window, or the where we actually. So this is where you actually set that. So you can actually go ahead and select a time range from between what you actually want that to be done, and you can also select the days that you want that to the maintenance to be done. So once you have set that maintenance window, right now it's everything in 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. But then any update to the device will happen at this particular time. So if we have to install firmware update, we will only do it in this time. If not, then in the next particular update window, we'll update the device.
Right. So I mean, for your executive rooms, you could maybe say, hey, we're only doing these on Fridays and Saturdays, and that's it. And and I love that you don't have to sit there and do the math in the time zone. It tells you right there, local time of the meeting room, how it's configured.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. And you can do that. And I think one thing that I wanted to mention here is that there are certain settings in Penacast 50 which requires the device to be rebooted, and some of that is actually also connected to the schedule of this maintenance window. We will try to update the devices in near real time if they are available. For example, when I say available, they are connected and there is not a meeting going on, so they're not streaming at the moment. But if we can't, then we will take that and we will only apply those settings in the schedule, in the maintenance window. So you kind of like are not seeing these unscheduled or restarts of the devices while you are between the two meetings and so on and so forth, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Absolutely. I think great feature. I think you can actually just make sure that no meeting rooms are available, and when people are there, they're not seeing, that purple light flashing that something is being happening and everything. So that's kind of where we are. Okay.
Perfect.
So that's most of it, guys. But I just wanted to take 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes to go through one more thing, and then you can actually we can actually move to the next thing. And that is basically the Jabra Plus platform itself. So we have talked about the meeting room management right now, and then we will talk about the personal device management soon enough as well. But both of these capabilities are part of the Jabra Plus platform, which means that they will be sharing the logging, the security, the authentication, authorization backbone, if you may, between the two applications. And Jabra Plus is a multi-tenant application, which means that we have a concept of what we call an organization, which you can loosely translate this to a tenant, which means that at one time you can be part of multiple organizations. And that could be relevant if you are a supporter, for example, supporting multiple organizations, or you just want to have a test organization in your organization, and so on and so forth. I can see here, and the cool thing with that is that there is only one account that is actually, so if you are again coming from Express, you can still do that, but then you will be remembering like the N number of usernames and passwords, where N is the number of organization you're managing. Over here, you actually just basically you could be part of as many organizations as you can. You can see that I've created so many test tenants and everything. Right now, I'm part of this meeting room management tenant, as you're seeing here, but I can actually move to any or select any organization that I want to. You can actually click here, select organization, and then you will be transported into their world with their inventory, their devices, everything will remain that will go there, right?
So you're just saying so that unlike Express is one login, so you're not logging in again when you go to another organization. So if I'm tasked with providing support for AV for 6 organizations, I would have one account that's spread across all 6, go through onboarding with each of them. But from my day-to-day management, I'm just switching between them and managing without having to log in and out.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I think and that would actually go. I mean, you might be as SSO user, which means that it's your organization's authentication mechanism, or you are using our Jabra account. That single Jabra account, you will be able to manage multiple organizations. How this is going to work, right, is actually that you will have what we call admin users. So a bunch of people who are actually managing that as an administrator or as an owner. We can actually invite a user. So actually just give an email address, a role. Right now we have 2 roles, owner and member. Members are the ones who could do everything else, but they cannot invite more users. But once you have done that, you can just send an invite and they will receive and will go through the onboarding flow. And then they will have access to your organization, and you can always remove them if you want to. From here, you can remove the user and then or change the roles from here as well. So that kind of means that, I mean, imagine a company that they actually acquire Jabra Plus, and then they want you as a supporter to actually come and manage or set up. They can simply just invite you by email, and then you will be good to go. And if you already have a Jabra device, then it's like within 1 minute you will be able to manage their devices.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just some sort of housekeeping things. You can actually see this is my username, and I actually am logged in here using my email address, and a bunch of information is available over here. You can download the user guide. You can contact support, personal details, and legal. You can also see and download legal documents. And just wanted to plug our support team over here. So there is actually, just like every other device or any software that Jabra creates, we have a fully managed support page with frequently asked questions, different videos, how you can actually use them. We have documents which are installer guides and single sign-on information, administrator guide, and so on and so forth. And you can always contact support from here as well, which also means that Jabra Plus is actually using the same support channels as any of our devices or different software that we have. So
I did see
I
up
feel
top
like
what you. Yeah, go ahead, Parker.
having that link to both the documentation and the support page within the Jabra Plus application, that's probably like the best ROI per number of engineering story points that were ever spent on any product ever.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do the Google search for Jabra Plus support, because if you're wondering what to do, you just click on your own name and you get a next step. I think that is an underrated highlight in Jabra Plus.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, although as a product manager, I mean, I like to be in a situation where nobody needs to do it, but hey,
But
Right.
make it easy when they have to. If they're already
Right.
bad, let's try to take at least half a step back. Maybe we could put a smiley face in there too. I know that's that's rework nobody likes to revisit, but again, some kind of happy iconography there.
Okay, guys. So this is the meeting room management. I'm just going to pause a little bit and see if there are any questions that I can answer, and then we'll just go quickly into personal device management as well.
We got a couple in here before we go over to the personal device management. One that just popped into the chat is: will registered products in Jabra support automatically be registered in Jabra Plus, or do we have an easy way to link them?
Yeah, so I mean, we are kind of looking into that at the moment, but I mean, at it is right now. I mean, this is kind of a manual process right now, so you will be able to view the detailed device information in Jabra Plus, and then that will kind of help you in creating any tickets to the support. For example, we'll be able to provide you. We're kind of working with, and very soon you will be able to get the log information. So we'll try to make it as easy as possible to be able to report your issues that you're having with the device, and rather than and able to get logs from the device itself, and so that you can attach it to a support case. But right now there is not a direct connection, but that's something that is in the roadmap to make it almost seamless, that you can just be able to create a support case right from Jabra Plus, and and attach all the necessary information to the support.
Perfect. And then we got one in the Q&A chat. And just so you all know, we're watching both places, right? There's a Q&A app where we're getting questions in, as well as the chat. And of course, you can raise that hand and ask it verbally as well. But that last question we've got in the Q&A there is there a limit of how many times you can roll back on the firmware? Like, how many times you can roll back if you want to roll back on a specific device or a group of devices, maybe?
So there is no limit, but I mean, what we are trying to, I mean, one of the differences you might have seen in this particular screen, that we actually have limited the firmware versions that you can roll back to, and we are really looking into making this list much smaller, which means that you will only 2 or 3 versions you can go back to, and that would be it. Having said that, if there's a particular device, there's no limit how many times you can actually go back and forth on that one. So you can actually just keep on rolling back and forward and forward. And
but I'd like to say, just because you could do it doesn't mean you should. Right?
I'll take that a step further. VBS won't even allow you to do it, because Android-based room systems have rollback protection. So if you have a VBS reporting in there, which I know isn't reporting in there yet, but it's coming soon, and I don't want somebody to watch this webinar in a month and then say, wait, this is what you said a month ago. So Android devices rollback protection. The USB peripherals don't have that same rollback protection. So depending on what you're using, you might be able to roll back or you might not. And that's going to be a device property.
Absolutely, that's a really good catch, Parker. Absolutely, and I think so we will actually follow what exactly and I think with the MTAP coming up and everything, I think Microsoft will be much controlling this thing much more. So we'll be actually following their lead on that one. Absolutely.
And to clarify, Parker, are we talking these Android room systems across the board, or our Android room system?
This is Android room systems across the board.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yes. There is your tidbit of non-Jabra specific information for this webinar. the value that we're bringing to you here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not that I was trying to like pass the buck and say, look, this isn't our problem type of thing, but you know.
But it is not our problem, Josh. So
there you go. But now that anyway.
You guys are selling this all wrong. This is a feature. We are giving you security. You don't have the choice to go back to a less secure version. You don't have the ability for an attacker to come in.
Anyway, right? So you don't actually need to.
Firmware never causes any problem. Never, including in the last week, has a firmware update caused any kind of issue within an organization, which is another good generic best practice topic. If you're going to roll out a firmware update, please roll it out to one device first. Ovais, could someone use Jabra Plus to roll out a firmware update to one device first to test it before they roll it out to all their devices?
Absolutely, you can actually. So you can actually create an organization, a configuration, only attach one or two devices to it, and then use the latest and greatest or not so greatest firmware first before you roll it out to everyone. So absolutely, yes.
I don't know why that's Parker such a big deal. CrowdStrike just rolls out updates across so too early for that? Too soon?
If you wonder why attendance is lower this week,
right? And you tell them that, hey, we need a reboot functionality, and they will tell you, why? You never need to reboot. It just works. And it doesn't. So yeah, we live in a real world, right? Okay. So yeah, any more questions, Josh?
No, we are caught up in the Q&A and in the chat. So we are free to proceed with. So at this stage, we've covered where we are at now, what has been released, what's out there. We've alluded to the fact that the VBS will be included in this next update imminently. So keep an eye there. But now we're talking about what's next, right? What's the future of this?
Absolutely. So if you see over here, there's this button menu item on the left, which says I wanted it to be a big red beta, but I mean, the design team didn't agree, but it's actually a beta, which actually do not support it right now. But if you click that, you will actually see similar stuff that you actually just saw, but there's one more interesting information, what we call a desktop client. So this is how you will actually get your devices online or personal devices online. So if you click here, you will be able to see that you can actually either create or you can actually download specific Jabra Plus client or what we call a gateway that can be installed on the end user computers. We are in this paradigm of personal device management, which means that you might have a few thousand of these devices or few thousands of different computers that this need to be installed on. So you can actually download it from here one time, and then from that point onwards, you can distribute that particular software. You can do it one by one. There are some customers I've seen have the software available on the company portal where people can download and install. I have seen where people are using SCCM or one of those mass deployment tools to actually take that, and which this particular client is fully compliant to. So any tool that can actually install an MSI, you can actually use that and install that on the computers. One cool thing with this is that this client is evergreen. So that is one time that you guys need to do that, because once you have done that, it will automatically update itself. So you don't need to do it again and again, which was one of the feedback that we got from our direct users, that there's a significant amount of effort is needed by IT administrators to keep the client updated. So that's what we have listened to. So once you actually have that particular device sort of client installed, you can actually then go on and start looking at the inventory. These are all the devices that are connected to. Unfortunately, nothing is online right now, but I mean, this is basically similar concept. Over here, we don't have the concept of rooms. It's basically, devices, and then you can open up, you can get more information about that particular device. You can also see the username that was actually using that particular computer that the device is connected to, what is the computer name, operating system, so on and so forth. What client, what version, what client is actually installed on that, and so on and so forth. You can even go ahead and set it unavailable. Hey guys, this is beta. That's why we say that. But But basically, eventually you will be able to take a particular device and able to change the settings, and most importantly, view the settings and then change them as well. So yeah, so that's mainly it. The concept of bulk management in personal device management is a little bit different. In this particular personal devices, we actually provide a concept of what we called groups, which is actually a way of you can actually add multiple devices to a particular group and then attach a configuration to that particular group, which kind of means that still remaining with the same concept, you can actually you can add a device group with 1,000 devices, attach a configuration. In that particular configuration, you can change one settings, save it, and it will be applied to those thousands of devices. So yeah, and that is what is actually will be available hopefully by the end of this year. One thing I wanted to say was that if you are coming from Express Direct paradigm, then you will have a Jabra Direct that you have downloaded, and then you have Jabra Express. This concept remains the same. This particular client that we talked about, this is actually your replacement of Jabra Direct. This client will have a UI which will let you let the user interact with the device when the firmware is being updated. It will let them pair the devices, the dongles and Bluetooth pairing and everything. And that's something that we will be available in general availability, but we will keep on adding more features so that the users are able to personalize their devices without reaching out to the administrators through that. And the initial version will be available in Windows, but we will roll out the Mac version after that.
Hey, Ovais, there's a question in chat from Karsten that I think would be great for you to talk to live here. And it's essentially about what does the process for enrollment look like for the different types of devices, and what kind of devices are the easiest to bulk enroll, where there's the most minimal amount of an admin doing anything unique per device, and what devices are going to have the most amount of unique, you have to be touching that device steps. And the idea being, is there anything we're looking at even in the future to sort of simplify that process, whether it's through DHCP options or some other type of enrollment automation to simplify?
I think it's a great question. So right now, I mean, let's just see what are specifically if we go to the meeting room devices, and I'll go here, and then I'll just refer to this. Which time do you have?
It's perfect graphic for this. And exactly. Karsten was kind of saying, just can you give me the whole field of all the different types of devices? He didn't have one specific one in mind. So I think this is a great way to go.
Absolutely. So let's just see. These are the three different types of, if you may, devices that we actually currently support. We have the Windows-based room systems, which is your MTRs and your Zoom groups. That kind of gives you functionality, which means that you can actually, if I click here, you will be actually see, you can actually see how exactly it goes on. You can actually you can download a meeting room client. So we have a specific client that you can download. You can install it on that particular device. In theory, you can use SCCM or Intune or something, so mass deploy that, which kind of means that you basically all of those devices, as the software is installed and up and running, we will be able to remote manage them from Jabra Plus. And so that's one use case, if you may. The other one is actually bring your own device, right? So bring your own device is a little bit different, which means that the device, you cannot externally install any software. So we have built in the client into that, which kind of means that you need to configure every particular device with that, which means that one time only you will have to interact with that device. And there is a specific application we call Jabra Plus for installers. You connect that using USB-C, provision it, and from that point onwards, you're good to go. Finally, we have the BBS, which is not available right now, but as it's a similar concept over here as well. You can actually remotely access Panic S50 VBS using the IP address, for example. To provision that, you can use your touch controller to actually provision this device as well. But it's still one-to-one. So that's basically the three ways we have today. Having said that, we are definitely looking into what we call a low friction or a batch deployment or zero touch deployment, or it has many names. Zero touch
From a
doesn't exist,
marketing
by the way,
perspective, can we call it a no friction deployment? I mean, I think
yeah,
we all know
I mean,
on the
I
call
always
that
tell
like
people
that
that I'm
doesn't
not going to
exist.
say real time. I'll always say near real time. So I mean, there's but yeah, but I mean, basically, some sort of a way of batch provisioning devices across all these three situations. So that's something that we are looking into.
And appreciate the feedback, Karsten, in there of kind of thoughts of what might be an interesting way to go. It's great to it's good to not just get the questions in the chat and QA, but to also just get some thoughts, opinions, ideas, and feedback so that we can take that back beyond this session as well. So appreciate the involvement in that way. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of a huge roadmap, guys, and I mean, and when I am in these conversations, there's a big tick on one of those features that we are trying to bring in so that it has a higher priority than others. But absolutely.
And that's the idea here, right? Is that we're going beyond a few piecemealed software components in an organization to a platform that is intended to be enterprise ready, enterprise grade platform across a wide spectrum, not just rooms, but personal devices. And as you see in the left-hand side of that, we have personal devices, we have integrations, which if you were present on the first webinar we did on this, John briefly alluded to the fact that this is down the road API integration capabilities, right, for other use cases. So this is being developed in that direction. And today we're covering really what is here now. But certainly, as Ovais said, it's a large roadmap sitting in front of us. There are some near-term wins that we're excited about with getting the VBS onboarded and personal devices. I think that in particular is going to be really cool to see. But beyond this year and the next phase, there's a lot there. So the feedback, keep it coming well beyond this session. And we're very much open to that. But we have brought this right up to the end. So
yeah, go ahead.
We brought it right up to the end. So thank you, Ovais, for taking the time to walk us through this, and especially, again, taking time on your PTO and your holiday break. Much appreciated. Great walkthrough. Awesome fielding of these questions. And if there are any questions after the fact, of course, y'all know where to find us. Please bookmark the Technically Speaking page and join us again next month and beyond. As Jabra Plus continues to grow and expand every several months or so, we'll touch base again and kind of get what's the latest, what's new, what does this mean for us technically. Keep an eye on those emails. The winner of today's drawing will be announced shortly once we get that attendance report. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you all, I'm sure, on next month's MDEP, Technically Speaking. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.